Got our thumbnail sketches ready, and for this part of the process you're going to be able to use whatever kind of color media that you have at home, whether that's watercolor paint or crayons or markers or colored pencils or acrylic paint, oil paint, whatever kind of colorization that you have at home is fine. I know some of you kids at home are limited while you're home during COVID, and so just whatever you have, but we want to try to make this bold and colorful. The next thing we need to do is get our project surface. So kids at home, if you only have computer paper, that's fine. You just want to make sure that you don't use watercolor with a lot of water because it will tear your paper, but you can use watercolor paper, mixed media paper, just whatever you have available. If you do have a canvas, feel free to use a canvas. For this one, I'm just going to use some watercolor paper, size 9 by 12. As I decide which ones I like the best, I really actually kind of like what's going on with this cotton crop right here. I'm getting some ideas of what I could do with color and color values to show distance, and maybe some things that I can do to actually make this look like cotton. And so I think that I'm going to go ahead and go with the majority of this design, and of course I can always change it as I go. So I'll just start transferring my drawing, and remember, draw lightly until you get it right. So maybe I'll have this go up a little bit, kind of like it's a hill. And so I'm gonna have a vanishing point right here. Remember, we have our horizon line, and the vanishing point is gonna be where all the lines seem to converge in the distance. So I'm gonna go ahead and make my rows of cotton. Maybe they seem like they come from that vanishing point, and maybe they flatten out over here. Maybe they kind of go over a little hill right here. Okay, but they all seem to go to this vanishing point. And then I'm not quite sure how I will do the sky. I actually kind of liked these clouds that were coming up from the horizon with the sunset behind them. So I think I'm gonna just try to put in some cloud shapes, and they kind of puff up from the distance. They're gonna kind of look like trees until I start to add color. So I might have some clouds floating. Actually, this is another lesson on what happens with clouds in relationship to the horizon line. I'll just give you a little quick lesson here. So when we're on the ground, things that get farther away get higher up on the page. However, if you're doing clouds, they're actually going to get smaller as they go down towards the horizon line. So I know there's always that exception to the rule, and so clouds are one of those things. So I've got these cloud shapes, and maybe these could be thunderheads coming in the distance. And then maybe there is a sunset back here coming out behind them. So remember that your thumbnail sketches are not set in stone. Your art projects are going to be much better if you plan them out a little bit, but it doesn't mean that you can't let your art evolve. But it's always going to be good to kind of think about your art first. This is kind of starting to remind me of one of my favorite artists, Erin Hansen. I'll pop up some of her stuff on the screen, but she is an open air impressionist, and so she has a lot of color, and so I might look at some of her work to get inspired with certain colors that I want to use. I remember what I was liking about this cotton field was there's this kind of broken fence here, the posts are leaning, and it's next to this edge of the field that might have some weeds. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna extend these lines a little bit, and then I'll just have kind of a rolling edge to the field. Remember, the whole point of this project is to show space and distance on a flat sheet of paper. So we're wanting to show foreground, middle ground, and background. What we have in the background is our sky and the sunset. I'm gonna have this cotton field in the foreground. I'm just gonna make these little shapes, little cotton bushes. Cotton grows in kind of a little shrubby bush. And then they're gonna get smaller as I'm gonna go in the distance. And as they come back here, they're gonna start to look like little dots. Remembering that one great way to show space and distance is to make your objects get smaller as they get farther away, and higher up on the page as they get farther away, with the exception of clouds. They're going to get smaller as they appear farther in the distance. They're going to get smaller as they come down towards the horizon line. Oh, my kitty cat wants in the door. Who is that? I have 6 cats. That's Smokey. They're all outside cats. We live out here in the country. And actually, I pass a cotton field like this every day on the way home. I actually didn't end up using that picture at all. The one with the donkey and the longhorn. Oh well. Artwork gets inspired by certain things and sort of evolves into its own direction. It's part of the fun and relaxation is just to let yourself let it evolve. Don't put so much pressure on yourself to make it look like a certain thing. The whole idea for this assignment is just to have some fun, learn how to show space and distance with a few simple tricks. Might have some way back here on the horizon. It's like we could just keep going and going and going and going and going. Now it's just looking like visual texture off in the distance. Let's see, what do I want here? So I'm gonna add in the little fence post. And they're kind of cylinders, round at the bottom. Just having fun with how they're leaning this way and that. Let one run off the side. So maybe we have some weeds here. Not really sure what kind of weeds these are, and it might be getting a little bit too busy, so I probably should stop. If you get too much stuff going on, then you lose emphasis on certain areas. Okay, so now what we'll need to do is choose colors, and we'll do the colorization in the next video. I will probably use a little bit of acrylic paint. All right, so now you have your drawing on your project paper or canvas. If you have access to a canvas, that's fine. Keep in mind, if you have a canvas, you'll be needing to use some acrylic paint. But if you have any questions about what you can use or what might be best to use for this, just put a comment in the section below. Or students, you can just email me through your Google Classroom. All right, I'll see you in the next video.